Morning, everybody. Welcome to my channel, and thank you so much for listening to this audio-only piece. I do appreciate it. This is commentary based on my opinions, perspectives, and understanding of some of the facts. There is a content warning that I'll bring up sensitive material like grooming, sexual impropriety, sex-based harassment, revenge porn, and mental health. So if these are triggering topics, please click out and come back at another time. I've already done a video on this, but I did not upload it after all because I thought it was extremely inappropriate in terms of the swearing and outbursts. And I don't think that it is extremely helpful at all to be in a state of a rage to post, because the thing I would regret is not necessarily my opinions, but how I conducted myself, how that may impact the public, and how it might skew the viewpoint, the viewpoints of people. But not just that, but also I don't think it's going to help the victims of Colleen Ballinger at all. I don't want to do or contribute to anything that's really going to hurt them in any way as an individual. So I'm going to try to scale back some of the swearing and scale back some things. And my opinion hasn't changed. My opinions in this haven't changed. I've always been a consistent supporter of all the victims and I will with any more victims that have courage and come out about this. And respecting the facts that are out there. I also listen to a number of legal experts on this topic. I've done a lot of research about this through my life, through using educational databases and things like that to kind of understand what I'm going through, what is going on, and so on. But again, this is just my opinion. It is based on all of these things combined. And I don't pretend that anything that I do is journalistic quality. I do have the right to have literary criticism on some things. And that can go for what I'm reading. It also can go for my interpretations of certain videos and things like that, which will come into play in this discussion. So, that said, I'd like to begin. Now, I know there was some confusion about Andrew Quintana, who wrote this Vanity Fair article seemingly supporting Colleen Ballinger. In my opinion, the thing that's going off the rails is really the chaos that Colleen has caused for the community, for her fans, and for the victims. Of course, the victims are a priority here because of what they have experienced, what they have expressed. I am always supportive of the victims. That's it. Sometimes I'll use the word alleged or whatever because, just because of Colleen's aim at attacking anybody who addresses her behavior and her material in certain ways. So anyway, going back to Andrew Quintana, it's a good thing I kind of waited because there was some confusion about who this Andrew Quintana is. Now, I didn't really explore that too much. I didn't realize there was another Andrew Quintana, and that people were kind of targeting him rather than the correct Andrew Quintana. Now, I followed a Reddit post, and with Reddit, you got to take everything with a grain of salt. But you have to go back in and do the research. And I can see how people were confused. But it seems like it's an Andrew A. Quintana who's responsible and not the Andrew L. Quintana who is more of a social justice minded person. So that is who I'm referring to, is the Andrew A. Quintana, the older one, I guess. And I hope that I have that correct. In any case, and Andrew Quintana wrote this article. And to me, I'm going to say right off the bat that I do think that it was a hit piece against the victims. I think it was intentionally written that way. And it is an opinion piece. I wouldn't call it anything based on journalistic integrity. I think that if someone is going to write an opinion piece, they should at least have sources. At least that is what I was taught. Okay. Um, I think that obviously there weren't any facts involved in this. There were no interviews with the victims. There wasn't even an interview with Colleen to kind of like, I don't know, to kind of point out how she would have reacted to this information and how in turn the victims would respond to that. Not saying that everybody has to be on the same panel, but there should have been some type of investigation before doing this. And I also think that from what I've read, obviously it is suggesting, in my opinion, that victims should have kind of kept this to themselves. To make the issue more insular, to me, suggests silence, that victims of Colleen should not have come out to say anything, because if they come out and say something in the general media, it's going to reach different parts of the world, different parts of the platforms. I know that this situation already has, because people who don't normally follow the drama or tea communities or the commentary people or Colleen Ballinger, they didn't know she existed until it came to their attention. People that I watch across the universe of YouTube have come out and have reported some things. There were some inaccuracies in some of the reporting, and I think it's important to correct that. But I also think that, I think it's important to get facts out, but I do think that people had some general opinions about this from people you wouldn't expect to have an opinion about this situation, because grooming, or child sex abuse, or grooming kids with pornography and things like that these are things that all kinds of people react to. And a lot of people have adverse reactions to this. Now, Andrew is quite aware, I'm sure, of the power of media in terms of how information is posited, how information is received. This was designed to silence victims. This was designed to ensure no other victims would come out and talk about this, and that the so-called chatter around this should be silenced or tempered. I do not agree with that. I agree that victims should come out when they feel comfortable in doing so, and they shouldn't be shamed or scared into saying their experiences because Colleen thinks she deserves protection from her own actions, which is what is going on here. So Colleen is using the very media that has enriched her, that has manipulated people into believing that she is untouchable and worthy of all respect and love to, in essence, character assassin her victims. This opinion hit piece, in my opinion, is no different from the ukulele video. They're designed to threaten, to scare victims to not saying anything. You don't tell victims to keep it to themselves. You don't tell victims, which I believe was the original edition of this article. I think that was included in the original edition. The reason why is because I noticed a difference when the updated article happened. But I could be amiss. I could be confused. But I do take it to believe that what they're suggesting is that victims just stay silent about this. Stop talking about it. The problem is that re-victimizing victims through the media is potentially very dangerous. It can cause people not to come out. It can cause people problems because people will assume that the media is right about this. The stands will feel vindicated in the abuse that they caused against victims. And it creates more chaos and more abuse and more shaming and more silencing. And it doesn't even help Colleen at all, because Colleen is already fucked. She's in a very precarious situation. And like other psychopaths, she doesn't care. But she will care. She will care. And there are a number of recent sex offenders or sex enablers or whatever, sex-based harassers and so on, who have not fared well, and at least financially or with their freedom. And I don't know why Colleen thinks she's different from that. Why she thinks she can abscond the law just because she's a pretty Caucasian, powerful woman. I have no reason as a feminist and left-winger to defend this pile of shit. I have no reason to do that. I would never, in my dreams, never tell a victim that they're a liar. Never. I'll never come to defense. I don't care if it's a woman. She victimized girls. She victimized boys. She did victimize gay children. And she's supposedly a staunch supporter. This woman is a registered Democrat. What that has to do with it, I don't know. But I think it's pretty fucked up in my opinion. Because I'm also a registered Democrat. But nevertheless, like, I don't have anything personally to gain from speaking out against Colleen. I don't need hit pieces to manipulate me into thinking that she is this person. No, I'm not jealous of her. I would not want to be in her position right now. I would not want to trade all the shit that I'm going through in my own life and my mind with anything that she's going through. I would not want to walk in a world of cluelessness at all. But she's facing the consequences, and believe me, this isn't just talk. There's other stuff going on behind the scenes, and no, it's not to tear down Colleen's reputation. Colleen did that to herself. Colleen hurt herself and others. Colleen canceled herself, and she's going down in infamy as a disgusting pile of shit with the likes of James Dawson. Jesus, I can't think straight today. James Charles and the Dawson guy, because I can't remember his first name. You know, why she hasn't been canceled the way James Charles has been canceled, and rightfully so, is beyond me. But I think there will be some legal repercussions for this. She did break the law, it seems, by transmitting, by obtaining this pornography, um, and giving it to minors, showing it to minors. Now, of course, what Colleen had also done, in my opinion, is sex-based harassment via revenge porn to groom a minor. Grooming comes in all different forms. It can happen to adults, it can happen to children. And she was probably grooming these kids to make fun of people she doesn't like. What do you think her fucking shows are about? What do you think her shows are about? And speaking about the shows, there was a mention in Mr. Quintana's article about the blackface situation. Now, I've stated in my minstrel show video, my what I think Colleen Ballinger, Miranda Ballinger's shows, or this particular show is akin to a minstrel show. We call it digital blackface, right? I talked about that and why I think it is blackface, and I have a right to have that opinion. And her lawyers are entirely full of shit in this. Because if you look at the context of the Wicked Witch's life, and if you look at Beyonce and all the shit that she's endured by these horrible conspiracy theories and racist notions of how people view the black woman, you'll see that that is exactly what Colleen did. It was targeted against black women. She has no respect for black women. She has no respect for women of color. She has a documented history of mocking them. So that transition from one woman of color's experience, or witch of color's experience, to a woman of color's experience, and mocking them using Miranda, who is one of the most depraved characters on YouTube, giving the appearance that she's doing a blackface show. Because I'll tell you, when I looked at the video, for me, I couldn't tell if it was green. At this particular video, I couldn't tell it was green. But it was, at least what I perceived of it, was to be mocking people of color, especially women of color. That's exactly what she did. Well, at least in my opinion. So, you know, there's no defending that whatsoever. There's no defending that. Because the perception of it is all that it is required. But if you were to go into the background stories of the two skits that she connected, you'll understand. You'll understand why I come through in that way. I could be wrong. Like I said, it's my opinion. When I say exactly, or that's exactly what it is, yeah, I mean, I'm confident that's what it is. But it's still my opinion, you know, and people have to make their own determinations and their own interpretations. That's what that's about. But still, Colleen has a documented history of using the media to facilitate racism and sexual impropriety and classism in many ways. I mean, she uses her power and her money and things like that to try to knock down her victims. That's what a typical predator does. A predator of means will do that. They only think about how a victim's reaction is going to affect them. They don't consider how a victim is feeling, how that impairs possibly their ability to make money, their ability to recover the losses they incurred in access, and also accessing therapy, which costs money. It costs the community a lot, because when people can't function because of trauma, they can't work, they can't be a better support to the community. There's a lot that goes on that people don't think about. It's a constant state of victimization cycle and re-victimization. Colleen knew exactly what she was doing when she I don't know if she hired this person to do a hit piece or whatever. The fact of the matter is that it's just one more proverbial gun pointed at a victim for saying something. That's how I look at it. That's how I look at it. I'm so angry about this. I'm so angry. And I guess that's what Colleen wanted. She wanted the community to be angry, the community to be in disarray, so that nobody focuses on the facts here. Andrew Quintana certainly didn't focus on any facts. Did he interview anybody? No. Did he produce anything that was remotely interesting with facts or proof or anything? No. You have an opinion hit piece designed to malign victims, to demanding essentially their silence, and then have the nerve to criticize more credible outlets, news outlets, or at least fact finding, or at least telling the story from what they knew at the time. That's astonishing to me, the audacity. But even more so, I'm pissed off with Vanity Failure, because how this passed beyond the editorial process is even boggles my mind. That given the nature of what is going on, you would think that they would have distanced themselves from this article or taken accountability for letting this pass through. And what the danger is, there is direct danger to the victims. That's exactly what this was aimed to do. Now, I'm not against the freedom of the press to speak against horrible things in our society. I'm not against people having opinions. What I am against is the victim blaming and shaming that people use and manipulate the media in order to do that. And there's a lot I can say about it. So while Colleen Ballinger is still creating chaos and trying to disrupt the flow of factual information, disrupt the process of victims coming forward with their experiences, her victims should know that they do have a lot of support from the community. Even when stands and enablers are there are a lot of us who believe them, care about their well-being, and will do our best to ensure that you stay the forefront of your own stories. That's why I didn't break down a lot of this stuff, and I didn't regurgitate anything that the victims have said on their own behalf. I let them stand. I'm just saying that what I thought this hit piece was designed for, how it affects victims, what was being suggested, and that this baseless commentary does nothing to hurt people, and that was the intention of it. So I am going to close this video for now. If I have any follow-ups to this, I'll certainly do that. This might